This is a point of view. So, content session. Title. Is it so hard to grow an agency? If we know what to do, then why can't or why don't we do it? So by the end of this session, I've gone through what you should do and what we don't do and why we should do it. And I think I have to say there's a government health warning, which is, you may not be happy with what I say. Please, it's not personal. It's about, I know everyone is thinking, blimey, he's talking about me. How can he talk about me like that? He knows my detail. This is totally generic, but it's kind of me wearing my size 10 wellers about what's going on, working inside with agencies and working as a kind of consultant at LED with agencies. If you want to know what the big aha at the end is, stop peeing around, okay? Just stop it. It's just like enough already. You cannot keep on doing it. You need to grow some Watsits. You need to put your Batman cape on and get going and make stuff happen. So what I'm going to do is go through the old deck, which was called the habits of the high performers, how to become part of the habits of the high performers. And the starting point of that was this question of what's holding you back? What's holding you back from running the agency that you really want to run? What's stopping you from doing it? We did some research. We had 250 agencies which were plodding, 250 agencies which were absolutely thriving and absolutely, going gung-ho, Ferrari, very, very rarely going into work. And we asked them the same question, which is what's holding you back from running the agency you really want to run? Okay, consistently, absolutely consistently, the questions that came in, or the answers that came in from the wannabes was absolutely consistent. It was they Brexit, they COVID, they the pressure on price from everyone else, they Amazon, they the duopoly, they Cambridge Analytica. It was all about they. It was all about other people. It was all about the government, the consultants, the clients, the staff. It was never about me. It was steeped, absolutely steeped with fear of putting the prices up, fear of putting prices down, fear of employing the wrong people, fear of over promising, fear of everything, so much so that people became incapable of making decisions. They actually didn't know what or how to do, and they actually ended up, just not making decisions. And the conclusion is the problem is me. When you talk to the high performers, the high performing ones that have done really well, and you said to them, what is it you were trying to do when you were small and little? What was holding you back from running your agency, the agency you wanted to run? They were really clear. The problem was themselves. The problem was mindset. The problem was that they were in the way of letting go. And once they recognized that they were the problem, they could get on. So this is kind of all about mindset, yeah. And we've had sessions. We've had our sessions on mindset and getting up early in the morning and meditating. And when I say mindset, I don't say mindset in that kind of mindfulness way, but it is certainly about getting your head together and getting sorted about what you're going to do, because I think that there are real choices. You can go, literally to the left, and there's nothing wrong with it. You can run a. Oh, someone's got their microphone on. If you could mute yourselves, please. You could run a small lifestyle business and have loads of fun. That's cool. I have no problem. I'm not being judgmental at all. You can do that, or you can run the big factory, the 100-person agency. You have those choices, or you can do anything in between. So bell curve, we're going to use bell curve twice this morning. First bell curve was introduced to me by the guys at 3 White Hats down in Devon, Cornwall, which is a great slide, this is. If along the bottom you've got growing up from being very small to very large, on the very, very left-hand side, when you're all things to all people, it is fun city, but there are no controls and there's no profits. As you sort your business out, hey, we're sorting the business out, are we doing well? Woo! There's a sweet spot where you get everything dead right, where you're running a great business, making loads of money. And then there's a point where you come back down, and what you've created in effect is a factory, and it's control city, and it's profit a go-go. Now, there is this sweet point, which is in the middle, and it might be 35 people, it might be 50 people. But you have a choice about where you sit on this curve, and that's really the point about growing up. You can grow up and run a profitable business. It doesn't have to be 500 people. It doesn't have to be a hellhole. It can be different. Now let's go back to the bell curve again, because the bell curve is something we use with Google to understand high performers and low performers. Okay, the most of us are in that middle point. We're in that middle rump of we're okay, we're the majority of agencies. Down here we have the really poor performing agencies. Up here we have the really high performing agencies. So we're not talking about that top 1%. Actually, it's that top 0.001%. I reckon that none of us are in that 0.001%, which are going to sell our agencies for so much money, become retired, richer than our wildest dreams. It's almost certainly a fantasy, okay, which has been peddled by everyone. You may well sell your agency and do very nicely, but a number of people who sell their agency for 50 million quid, you know, it's 1 in 100,000, something like that. What we're talking about is that kind of the top 10%. And what is it, those top 10% who do really well and sell their business for a nice amount of money, and or they run a very profitable business and they live very nicely? What is it they do that's different from the average, the mean, the plodders that so many of us seem to have got caught in, or maybe in this room we're just above that? And the question is, how do you get from being in that average lot into that high performing? What is it you do? Now we kind of know what you need to do. We know what the high performers do. They charge more, they employ better people, they have better clients, they have retainer clients, they have clients with deep pockets, they have clients where they get deeply embedded for the long term. They have great systems and processes, they charge high profitable prices, and they create a flywheel because they do great work, they get a great reputation, so people. So we kind of know what they do, and what we've discovered people need in order to get from the average, to the high performers, isn't to read another bloody book, I'm afraid to say. Although I'm very delighted that Gavin's got my book next to his bed. That's very kind of you. I think it's actually we need to be handheld in that journey to actually make that happen. And that seems to be one of the prime differences between the people who make it, who don't make it. They are surrounded with, call it what you will, mentors, coaches, consultants. Now, very, very few, and this is my point, very, very few actually really focus, really take ownership, really make those tough decisions so that they can take the massive action required to grow their agency. And very few embrace accountability. In all our mastermind groups, everyone always says, yes, I want to be accountable. I want to be accountable to the group. And yet we know that about 2 in 10 actually wholeheartedly go for accountability of exposing the numbers and actually delivering on it. And you think, well, why aren't people doing that? Why aren't they having their feet held to the fire like they want to, but in the most obvious way? We can come back to that later. So here's the question. The question is, why is it so hard to grow an agency? Clearly, it's not an easy thing, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And half of me says, guys, gals, we shouldn't be talking about this. And yet we still are. We're still talking about it. So why is it so hard to grow an agency? One, my answer would be, is it a high or a low complexity issue? If you compare it with running a nuclear power station, or it's pretty low complexity. Customers with some needs and wants, you've got a box where you kind of make the stuff happen, you collect the money. It's not desperately complex. It almost reminds me of my Auntie Doris had a sweet shop, where people come in, lots of different sweets, but you choose a sweet, put them in a bag, take the money, go home. There is more complexity when we have more people and stuff, but as a business, it's not desperately complex. Most of us could be pretty commoditized. Second thing is, are the rules, the rules of the game, are they hard or are they easy to follow? And actually, I think they're pretty easy to follow. Make an offer that's sexy and people want, close the sale, deliver on time to specification, collect the money. It kind of feels like it's not an impossible thing to do. So we have to have a 2x2 matrix. So we end up in this kind of bottom left-hand corner. The rules are pretty easy to follow. It's not desperately complex, okay? It's not a nuclear power station. So you know what to do, price well, commoditize, listen to the customers, be responsive, have a great team, deliver on the product, over deliver on the product, collect the money. You know what, you know the why, you know your purpose. I'm doing this because I want to sell, I want to grow, I want to make. And you know how to do it. You know the things that need to happen. You're managing directors, you're bright people. So my question is, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you running this awesome business? Why are you grumbling? Oh, we're stuck at 15 people. Wow, we're stuck at 10. Oh, it's really, really tough. So coachy question, what's the real challenge here? Well, part of it is that you're working with your reptile brain. Yeah, despite all your high intelligence, you're working with your reptile. And what is a reptile brain? Fight or flight. Yeah, very, very alert, very, very early on in a presentation. Very, very alert, very early on. But the reptile brain, once it gets that it's not under threat, it tends to get to lose interest. And I think that's something that's going on here. You're running a business. It's fantastic. Great. Wow, it's happening. Yeah, adrenaline. Now the risks get much greater. If you're 15 going to 20 people, why would you want to risk that? Your reptile brain is saying, no, I don't need it. It's too risky. Let's just stay safe. And once we stay safe, I can go back to sleep. So I think your reptile brain is working overtime. Okay, you need to counter that. Secondly, knowledge. Just because you know what to do doesn't mean you understand it. Yeah, really important. Where we are really obsessed with knowledge in this industry, but knowledge doesn't mean you actually understand what it means. I mean, if you think about it, in this room, how many people, I can see one, maybe two, have actually done the whole cycle of set up a business, run and grow a business, and sold it. Okay, so you need not just to know what the steps are, but you need to have gone through it to understand the process, to understand what's going on. And that knowledge understanding also applies right the way through. So let me just recap. These are the questions that you ask Janusz and I all the time. Why can't we get more better customers? Why aren't we more profitable? Why won't people do what we expect? Why aren't we hitting our targets? And these are the questions which start with the word I. Yeah. Why am I working harder? Should I hand over control? How do I get back my mojo? What's the secret sauce I'm missing? So those questions keep on reappearing. And in some senses, they should, because those are questions going on in our head. And in some senses, we've all been here. So let me just do the you know what you should do bit. Okay, you know what you should do bit. You should measure and score your business. How good is my business? How good is my business? Finance, marketing, operations. Robert Craven says that how good your marketing and sales is, buy from me. And how good you are at doing the doing creates your financial performance. We then go on, we've talked to all of you about this. You then go on to say, and it's about people and culture. The people and culture is the bedrock. The people and the culture is the bedrock that finance, marketing, operations leads on. That's what your business is. Spinning plates, juggling balls, finance, marketing, operations, and people and culture. Okay, so we know that's the only levers you need to pull. And to sort your business out, the quick and dirty solution is number one. If I have to say this again, I don't know what I'm going to do. Put your bloody prices up. Put your prices up. What don't you get about putting your price? How many different ways can I say this? Put up your prices. Decrease your direct costs. Why? Because as Dilbert says, if you want to look intelligent, tell people that the profit is the difference between what you pay for something and what you sell it for. So put up your prices, decrease your direct costs, and fix your underperformers. You have underperforming customers, you have underperforming suppliers, you have underperforming product, you have underperforming staff. Try and fix them. If you can't fix them, sack them. And once you've done that, you've sorted out your marketing, your financial model, and now you can go out, put foot full down on marketing, because now you're not making a penny in the pound, you're making 20p in the pound. Now you can get going on the market. So you kind of know this stuff. And if we talk about what the high performers do differently, the slow and sustainable, they're obsessed with strategy, marketing, teams, and finance, support and leadership. That's what they do, slowly, gently. The elephant in the room, my friends, is that you are also blinking similar unless you're in a niche. Same product, same people, same software, same suppliers, same website, same sales techniques. It's so beige. And you forget the basics. You know, this is the Doug Hall stuff. Demonstrate an overt business benefit, which means your likelihood of making a sale becomes 38%, not 13. Give them a real reason to believe you can deliver, which means your likelihood of making a sale goes up to 42%. And demonstrate your dramatic difference, which will improve your likelihood of making a sale by half. So how do they do it? 1, they ask themselves, how good are we? This is their away day. 2, what do we want to be? What's our purpose? What's our vision? What's our mission? This is a 1-page document. That's all, guys. It's not something huge. 3, they map it out on the wallpaper, post-its, where, when, what happens, how. Yeah. And 4, a dashboard to measure what's going on. You know, simple dashboard, going from lots of KPIs to relatively few KPIs down to maybe 4 KPIs in each box. Once a month, that is the dashboard that the agency uses to measure how good it is. That's what they do. And you know that because I've told you all of this stuff. The game changer, we know this. The full toolkit that every decent agency is using is understand trajectory, how high are we going? Understand what our big goals are. Understand what the scores are on the doors. Drill down to a finance plan, marketing plan, operations plan, people plan, 1-page plans. Execute the hell out of it, document the hell out of it. That's what they do. So let's go back to your questions. Why can't we get more better customers? Because your proposition is not compelling and sexy, because you've not thought enough about marketing, because you do not have a marketing and sales machine. If you're going to start anywhere in your business, don't start in operations, but we've got pointy hats. We like doing this kind of stuff. Don't start with that. Start with marketing, getting people coming towards you. Create a proposition which is so sexy and compelling that people want to buy from you. Stand for something. Don't stand for nothing. If you stand for nothing, you stand for nothing. Simple as that. Clarity about who you want to sell to and the benefit to them of working with you. Put it out there. And we just don't do it. Our websites are pants. I'm sorry. They just really are poor. For people who work in the business of websites, the irony cannot be lost on us. Why aren't we more profitable? You do not charge enough. Yeah, you're so keen to get the business. Be tough. We don't do work under £5,000. We don't do work under £100 an hour. We don't do freebies. Be clear about who your target customers are and who they are and why they buy from you. It's the same thing again. And do great work which blows them away. Not selling time, but selling added value. Demonstrating added value, demonstrating the overt business benefit, not a value proposition, but a quantifiable value proposition. Talk about how you can make people feel and how they will feel if you work with them. Respond to their reptile brains. Why won't people do what we expect? Mainly because you don't tell them what you expect. You know, both your staff and your customers don't know what to expect, so they kind of do their own thing, you know. We get the staff and we get the customers we deserve. Think about how you recruit and how you train and how you try and retain your staff. That's all up to you. It's up to your design. Now, occasionally you'll get a wild one who was to know they had a knife in their bag when they came to work and that they were psychotic. Occasionally you're going to get that. That's out of your control. But 99% of the time, we get the staff we deserve, and you need to think about, you know, how we recruit and how we train them and how clear we are about what we think excellent is and what we think good is and what we think bad is, and how often we reward them for the right things and how often we pick them up. You know, if something goes wrong, we go straight in there and say, actually, that wasn't a very cool thing to do. And the final question is, why aren't we hitting targets? Well, you're not hitting targets kind of because of all of the above, but let's just go back to the targets you set. And was that, you know, fact, opinion, or guesswork? Was there any kind of science, dare I say it, behind your thinking? Or were you more of the, oh, it's really difficult to predict the future, it's the best way of what we do is we just wait for the phone to ring? I mean, or do you actually, that's a kind of a waiting game, or do you actually hunt? Do you actually go out there saying the best client for us would be public schools with more than 1,000 kids in the south of England? Okay, let's look up who they are, where they are, let's phone them up, let's do a white paper for them, white paper specifically for their school, pointing out their catchment area, and now let's go in and pitch them. I mean, just how much time do you spend kind of trying to bring in those bigger target clients? And then there's top questions. Why am I working harder? I think you're working harder because possibly I need to be polite. And I'm also, by the way, I'm talking to myself as much as anything else. I'm working harder because I'm panicking that the system doesn't work. So there's a logic that says there's no point working on a Saturday because if you've not made enough profit by Friday lunchtime, you won't make it by Saturday. There's another logic which I find attractive, which is take off Friday and take off Thursday. So only work a 3-day week. You'll work incredibly hard for 3 days and be incredibly efficient, 80-20ing everything. And then on Thursday and Friday, while you are ostensibly painting the spare room or going for a run, your brain will be coming up with much brighter, sharper, smarter ways of solving problems than you'll ever come up with by having a quick meeting and coming up with the first 5 answers people always come up with. So I'm a great fan of working less. And if you look at the successful people, they don't work long hours. They're not paid by the hour, they're paid for the quality of their decision making. You are paid for the quality of decision making. What is the job of a CEO or an MD? Their job is to make decisions. So you need a brain that can come up with some cunning decisions, not just the first most obvious decision that comes up. Anyhow, I digress. Should I hand over control? Some of us, maybe we need to get someone running the business who's better at running the business than we are, so that we can do what we're really good, which might be sales, or it might be systems, or it might be operations. And that's okay, but we just need to recognize what we're really, really great at. The 85, 90 is the biggest I've taken a business to. I didn't enjoy it at all. Yeah, I like businesses up to about 15 people, above 15 people, more than a rugby team. I can't remember who everyone is. So understand where your strengths are and recognize that not that many people I'll do the Richard Branson 0 to multi-millionaire, the Anita Roddick 0 to multi-millionaire. Not many people do that. How do I get back my mojo? Just recognize, one, this business thing is a game. I really believe it's a game. There are rules you need to understand. And recognize that your identity is not and should not be confused with the person who goes to work during the day. That's part of your identity, but the person that spends time alone or with your friends or with your family is someone else. And that old hackneyed expression about, on your deathbed, you won't be saying, I wish I'd spent more time on Zoom calls. And what's the secret sauce I'm missing? I suspect you're not, because I don't think there is particularly a secret sauce, although it's incredibly attractive to imagine that, follow these 5 rules and triple your profits in 5 days or your money back. I don't think that happens. I think that's just bloody marketing people. You know what I think about marketing people. Marketing people sell you shit you don't really want. So be really careful about secret sources. I think most of it's fairly logical. Now, let's be under no illusions, talking strategy is fun. I talk strategy all the time. That's my meat and 2 veg is where are we now, where are we going, how are we going to get there while being aware of what's going on in the outside market. We need to figure this stuff out. We need a purpose, we need to have direction. Then we can plan, then we can make it happen. However, I'd like to just offer you 2 quotes which kind of knee me in the genitals in terms of this one. One is Peter Drucker, strategy is a commodity. In other words, lots of people can do it. Execution is an art. In other words, that's the fine, difficult thing to deliver. And General Barrow, amateurs talk about strategy. Yeah, I know, it's going to come back to bite me in the bum, this one. Professionals talk about logistics. It's about getting stuff done. Just remember Slimmer's World. If you want to think about strategy, think about Slimmer's World, and think about your business. Slimmer's World. Oh, I'm going to try and slim. You succumb to that amazing bar of Toblerone that you found, you eat it, you give up. And then a bit later, you try again, you succumb, you give up. I think strategy is the same thing. I think strategy in that wonderful plan we have for 2019 and 2020 and 2021 and 22 is the same thing. We make these plans, we're all gung-ho about it, and then stuff happens, it's a bit tough, we give up. Yeah. And why don't we do it? It's really simple, because the rewards are in the future. It's the same in Slimmer's World. Talk to my wife about slimming. The rewards are in the future. But first, before you get the rewards, you've got disruption, you've got discomfort, and you've got discipline. David Meister, discussing what disciplines you're prepared to accept to get to a goal feels tough, awkward, annoying, frightening, and completely unpleasant. That's why we talk about where we want to be in 3 years' time. We don't really like talking about the tough decisions we need to make to do it. So we don't take the tough decisions, so we don't do the tough execution. And I think that's pretty much what's going on. We need three things. We need permanent change. What got us here won't get us there. We need to behave in different manners and different ways from the way we behaved before. Okay. We need to change the scorecard. Clearly, what gets measured gets done. So clearly, by definition, what you've been measuring may not have been the right stuff. So think about changing or adjusting the scorecard so your scorecards are related to what it is you need to do in order to make the permanent change. And we need to get serious or take a chill pill. I am 100% fan of you saying, you know what, I've been at 10, 12 people, I get 100K a year, I've never managed to break 15, it's really, really hard, I'm trying really, really hard, and I feel like I'm failing all the time. You know, you change the scorecard and that can be a success because you're happy to run a 10, 15 person business. And I know loads of people who've said, we're at 10, we never want to get to 15. In fact, there's a gentleman in Bath, Sami Mansapur, who reckons that the sweet spot for an independent agency is about 33, 34 people, with every single person being a fee earner apart from one. Because at that point, we're still a family. At that point, we can do awesome work because we've got enough depth and breadth. And at that point, as a shareholder, you're making enough money, probably more money than you will until you're 100 or 200. And if you're only 40, you can keep this business for another 10 or 15 years, coin in the money, put the money in the ISAs, everyone's happy, it's guaranteed. Whereas that, grow the agency to 100 people and hope that Accenture will buy you. Too much like hard work. So, permanent change. Change the scorecards, get serious. So what is it that high performers do? I mean, when I talk about high performance, I'm talking about what the research with Google said. But more importantly, I'm talking about maybe a dozen people that I've come across who, they've read the book. Yeah, I feel like they're actually following the book. They're actually taking the book and they're actually showing me the book live. They work on systems and processes and machines. They are totally workmanlike. One of them, quote unquote, we'd been at 15 people for 5 years and I realized I was going to be 40 really in 3 years time. And if I was going to do anything, I had to do it now. Wake up call. They're now 85, 90 people. It's like a bang of the head. Change of process. But what they do is they are really systematic and workmanlike. As entrepreneurs, we hate systems and processes. We think it's all about our creativity. High performance work and systems and process on machines. Marketing machine, marketing sales machine, maybe it might be one, might be two, depending on the size of your business. Operations machine, finance machine, people machine. But starting with marketing and sales, you get the people in, you make the sale, you do the work, collect the money, underpin that with your people. So yeah, we're back to this machine: finance, marketing, operations, people and culture. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. There's nothing else to focus on. So in a nutshell, marketing and sales machine. operations machine. And my friends, execution is the last 95%. So we're actually nearly there because we are all focused on doing stuff. But I think what we're not necessarily doing is we're not necessarily doing the stuff, we're not necessarily making those tough decisions. I'm going to change the name. When Gavin looks at his book next to his bed, you'll see the name of Grow Your Digital Agency has changed from Grow Digital Agency to In Praise of the Dull, Boring Stuff. Because I think that's what the book probably should have been called, okay? It is the dull, boring stuff that makes a difference. That people that separate themselves out from everyone else, they have incredible discipline in terms of systems and processes. They have incredible discipline. Someone asked me the other day, they said, how many agencies you work with have a really great sales and marketing machine that you know? You know, agencies under 50 people, how many of them have a really great sales and marketing machine? It's kind of not that many. We kind of do sales and marketing. We create a sales and marketing model, but it's not an awesome machine that you turn the handle and you make stuff happen. And I think that the really great people, they have that obsessive need to create, but more importantly, they have discipline and they have focus and they make the tough decisions and they're obsessed with execution. And I just think our reptile brain, just on a very regular basis, just says, yeah, we get that, and then we don't necessarily follow through. Greek sakere, which we use the word success, comes from the Greek sakere, means to follow through. That's it. So, is it so hard to grow an agency? If we know what to do, then why don't we do it? Is it so hard to grow an agency? Yes, I think it's really hard. You're in a hugely commoditized world with a huge number of demands and a very, very fast changing world. However, I think if we look at what's been left behind by those who've been successful, you can see that they are obsessed with systems and processes, and they're obsessed with sales and marketing, and they're obsessed with getting their stuff out there. Do we do that? We need to look at ourselves. And they have a stroke of luck, that sliding doors moment where they bumped into the head of, that sliding doors moment where they won that piece of work. So is it so hard to grow an agency? Yes and no. But we kind of wouldn't be here if it was just no. And if we know what to do, then why can't or why don't we do it? I think that's about mindset, which is always the opening chapter, you know, our approach, how we look at stuff. But I think more importantly, it's about discipline. You know, think back to that David Meister stuff. Strategy in the Fat Smoker is what that's based on. And that's a book that says that as a 18-stone, cigar-smoking, brandy-drinking person, it wasn't till he had a heart attack that he realized that he really ought to plan what he eats and his exercise. And I suspect that we are a bit like that. We've got away with it. We have a comfortable life. We haven't had the shock of nearly dying to think, okay, we need to get this act together. My colleague Paul used to work with us. Given 7 months to live, it's amazing how he managed to sell the house, buy a farm, set up a business that was independently running, and also set up a business for his wife, and get the school fees paid for the rest of the time, all done in 6 months. Because he had a great shock, and I think we haven't had that great shock, so we don't have to get our stuff in order because we can do it tomorrow. And I don't know what I can do to give you that great shock, but I know that if you had a great shock, you could make it happen. If I told you you had a year to live, I reckon you could turn your business round and make it incredibly successful. If I told you someone was going to come to visit your business, who's going to buy your business, I reckon in 1 week you'd have all the systems and processes in place to make the business look really good. So we need something to make us do that. So what's my message? My final slides. My final slide is this: stop peeing around. Your wake-up call. It's tough. It's about focus. It's about making tough decisions. But we kind of know what to do. So what's holding us back? Probably us. What'll make us go forward? That real determination to make it happen, that real sense of purpose that maybe some shock will do. And on that note, I'm going to say Thank you very much for listening. Let's have some Q&A, and now I'll look at the chat. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.